we're back, and wasn't that fun? This was a huge commercial hit and a critical hit at the time on both sides of the Atlantic. Hitchcock called The 39 Steps one of his favorite films. It's definitely one of our favorite films. Interesting thing about the author of this book, John Buchan. He, as I mentioned earlier, he was the Governor General of Canada. I wondered if that's one of the reasons that they made the character Canadian and brought that up a couple of times. In the book, he writes the book in the first person, and he's Scottish in the book, although if I'm not mistaken he was born in Canada but moved to Scotland when he was 6. So speaking about the book, the book, for those interested, it's free on Amazon. You can download it for nothing. It's a very quick read, written in 1915. If you want to see what Hitchcock and Charles Bennett and the dialogue guy Ian Hay brought to this movie for yourself, read this book. Because it definitely, there are things that were true to the book, and there were things that were completely made up. The Mr. Memory was based on a fellow that Hitchcock saw in London at a vaudeville show. If I'm not mistaken, his name was Mr. Dada or Mr. Data, and definitely had all sorts of things memorized. Lots and lots of inventiveness. I loved the part that the music played a role. Another Kitty cameo, played a role in the plot. I mean, you definitely had him realizing he was whistling this same tune that was back at the stage. So that's again just pure Hitchcock and Bennett. A lot of times people will say, well, that's just pure Hitchcock, and you have to wonder, was it? If it's just based on a book or based on a play, then how Hitchcock is it? So that's I just wanted to say that about the book. Getting back to the book, as an example, the 39 steps in the book refer to steps in a staircase. You had this, our hero found out that the 39 steps referred to where they were going to find this layer of spies in a house on the coast of England, basically by counting the number of steps. The one that had the 39 steps was the den of the spies. And well, that's not this. This is something entirely different. And again, just imagine Hitchcock and Charles Bennett just sitting around hatching up all these neat ideas, because that's really what they did. Did everyone see the cameo? It was very, very quick. It was at about 7 minutes and 20 seconds in, so rewind it to that. Hitchcock is walking by a double-decker bus again, like I think he was in the movie before. The movie before it wasn't official. This one is official, and if I'm not mistaken as well, Charles Bennett was walking right behind him as well. So that was the cameo. Alma got credit, as you saw, for continuity. She actually was starting to receive a paycheck from Gaumont British. And who loves the fact that Hitchcock is signed with Gaumont British now? I mean, this is really working out good. They're leaving him alone. I think that I read something about that Gaumont, the parent company, was in France, really wanted Hitchcock to do a musical next, because musicals were big in the 30s, and Michael Balcon, who was the studio head of Gaumont British, would rush to his defense and say, no, leave him alone, let him do what he's good at. He knows what he's doing, let him do it. So we definitely saw again where the bad guy, let's talk about the bad guy again. I didn't set up who the bad guy was in this one. I told you that Peter Lorre was the bad guy and the man who knew too much, but didn't with this one, because of course you don't know he's the bad guy until he holds up his hand, and wasn't that a great scene? But once again, a perfectly charming villain, definitely someone who's not who they appear to be, and very well done. But just to talk about this again, the best you can say is that he was an anti-British spy. Again, what country was he for? Even the foreign-sounding spy at the beginning, the lady who was killed, what country was she from? Was it Germany? Again, they weren't talking about Germany as being the bad guys at this stage of the game, because they weren't at war with Germany. I think some of them saw it coming, but certainly you just didn't have the Germans as the bad guys. Getting back to the book, though, definitely it was written in 1915. World War II had already World War I had already begun, and he definitely the 39 steps. The people in the the house with the 39 steps were plotting an assassination, which again led to World War I. So that's kind of what that was all about. So we saw our MacGuffin in this one, where the MacGuffin that everybody was concerned with. The bad guys were trying to smuggle the secret out, and ultimately it turned out to be the dimensions of the airplane, the air defense system. I hope it wasn't that gyro. I hope it wasn't that ridiculous gyro thing that was following him in the Scottish Moors. Yes, it was a silent engine, and perfect. You know, it drives the plot. But you know, I didn't care about that. I cared about the hero getting his innocence proven. And there's your MacGuffin. So we loved the full circleness of this one again. You just gotta love it. Hitchcock does that, where you know, we started off in a theater. We started off in a vaudeville theater, particularly with Mr. Memory. That whole thing where he was whistling the song. That's the song I was whistling. Music as a plot device, brilliantly done. As was done in The Man Who Knew Too Much, where Peter Lorre's little stopwatch was making that sound, and it gave him away and caused the police to shoot him at the end. That was fantastic. The climax with music, set in an iconic location, the London Palladium, where the bad guy sort of jumps out as John Wilkes Booth moment, jumps onto the stage, and you know, you're really getting this climax literally on a stage for you. Interesting too is, you know, I said earlier, this is a guy who's getting the hang of making movies. I think so. I think he's got the hang of it now, and that's what we're seeing. But would you believe this whole film, with the exception of some shots of the Scottish moors and things, this whole film was filmed on a soundstage in London. They were never on location. They never left the indoors. If you watch it again, keep that in mind, because that's not easy to do. So. I love the fact that when the bad guy reveals himself and he pulls a gun on Richard, and Richard's kind of wondering, okay, how am I going to get out of this one? I've gotten out of everything before, and he's looking to the door, and it was unlocked, and is he going to make his escape? I just love the fact that the bad guy just shot. You know, I remember watching the James Bond movie with my mom and dad, and my dad would say, just shoot him, shoot the guy, and the villain in Bond movies always says, goodbye, Mr. Bond, and they carry him away, carry him off to some, you know, Shark Tank or something ridiculous, and he always gets away. So just shoot him. So he did, and of course the Bible saved the day. So I love that. We noticed when Hanny is blending into the parade in Scotland when he escapes the police. That was right out of the movie with Harrison Ford. The Fugitive, yeah, and so obviously they stole that from this. Of course, you know, we wonder where Hitchcock got the idea for it, but that definitely was Harrison Ford in that. So really, really cool. They also thought it would be neat. They could have picked anywhere in Scotland, but they showed the map, and the area that was circled was right in the town called Killen, because they thought that was pretty cool. So again, they're just having fun. They're doing what they wanted to, and absolutely, John Buchan, the guy who wrote this, was at first a little put off by the fact that they changed his book so much. But in the end, he did say he liked the movie, and huzzah, because we liked it too. Definitely loved the humor in this. You know, it's everywhere. There's, like I said a few movies ago, that humor is an essential part of these thrillers, these chases, and particularly the part where Madeleine Carroll is taking off her stockings and his hand is flopping all over her leg. And very risque, by the way. You did not see a lot of this in 1935 movies. Probably one of the things that earned them their adult rating, if you saw that at the beginning. And probably because this movie was such a hit in the United States. I wonder if this might have even been edited, if that part might have been edited out, because I sincerely doubt that would have passed the production code, certainly by 1935. So we just love that humor. Speaking of movies from 1935, the movie that won Best Picture that year is Mutiny on the Bounty, which stars Clark Gable. He's everywhere. He's not Clark Gable for nothing. And Charles Laughton. And Charles Laughton plays Captain Bligh, and he's so good because you hate him, and then there's about a 15-minute moment in the movie where you love him, and then you hate him again. So he is fantastic. We will see Charles Laughton as well. He'll be in the movie Jamaica in maybe 5 movies from now. Hitchcock's final British film from 1939. You gotta love Charles Laughton. Another movie, well, we saw a bunch of them. Another movie we saw from 1935 starred Edward G. Robinson, called Barbary Coast. And you know, this is a great example of how well did the movie The 39 Steps age. I think it's ageless. I think it's aged very, very well. Barbary Coast, not so much. Mutiny of the Bounty, we really liked it. It definitely is a good Best Picture, but you know, it's not this. It's a little dated and you know, what have you. Of course, it's a period piece. It was set, you know, in the mid 1800s, but it doesn't matter. It really is hard to do that. It's hard to make something ageless and timeless, and I think Hitchcock really scored with a winner here. A couple of the top 10 grossing pictures in 1935 were both Shirley Temple movies. And so just for fun, we watched a Shirley Temple movie called Curly Top, and absolutely delightful. There's only one Curly Top, there's only one Shirley Temple, but the other movies we saw from that year just really weren't that good, and it's amazing to see a gem like 39 Steps and compare it to movies. So if anyone out there comes across a movie from 1935 that we've missed or that is very, very good, I'd love to know, because kind of a weak year for films, but not so much with Hitchcock, that's for sure. So great. Also about the extras in this DVD. If you have this DVD, this Criterion DVD, please watch the documentary. I believe it's called Vintage Hitchcock. So click on it. I think it's only half an hour long. It's really, really good, and it'll sort of show you what you've been seeing, what you're going to see. It just basically talks about the British movies up until when Hitchcock gets really successful and goes off to Hollywood, and that's that. So I wanted to talk about just a really touching scene when he's staying overnight with that farmer guy, that Scottish farmer guy with the young wife, and when she helps him escape, and he gives her a little kiss and says I'll never forget you. Very, very touching, and Diane said that it must have been the first time you saw this, you kind of wish that he would have come back and done something for her. Maybe he does, I don't know. Obviously he's going to have a blonde wife, I think, so it isn't quite going to be what that young Glaswegian lass might have hoped for, but hopefully ever get her escape away from that guy, who could have been played by the farmer's wife guy, by the way, because I thought he would have made a great villain, and certainly this guy did not look like a nice man, but
no brandy.
Didn't really see brandy. Pretty sure that it was brandy in the book, that yeah, he would give himself a quick stiff drink. And again, I highly recommend the book for anyone to get it. It's called 39 Steps from 1915. So we happy? Good. Well, that was excellent. You can tell by the big smile on my face that I loved it. I think Diane loved it too, although I'm pretty sure that's not Diane's favorite British movie. That is yet to come, which is very exciting. So good. So we'll see you next week for movie number 13, lucky number 13, called Secret Agent, also starring Madeleine Carroll, Hitchcock's new favorite blonde actress. And I have to add too that when I read reviews for the 39 Steps, very often people will say it's Hitchcock's first cool blonde, first icy blonde, and I respectfully disagree. I think that role, that title has to go to Annie Andra. I mean, he loved her. I thought she was absolutely excellent in Blackmail. How she handled the shock of that murder, homicide. Sorry, I misspoke. That she committed in defense and self-defense, and unfortunately, she just couldn't make the transition to sound pictures because of her accent. So let's call this official Hitchcock Blonde number 2 of many to come. Very exciting. So good. So we'll see you next week for the movie Secret Agent, and until then, from our couch to yours, we'll see you next week.